What up, sports fans all over the world? It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan, here with my guy, Alex Costas. This is the Premium Takes Podcast. Let's go. What's going on out there, everybody? How are y'all doing tonight? Welcome to another edition of the Premium Takes Podcast. How you feeling, Adam?
I am feeling good. How are you, Mac?
Great, man. I'm great, man. Just delightful. Last night, game one, New York Knicks knocked it out the park, man. Jalen Brunson is him. I mean, we had a discussion last week about was Jalen Brunson the greatest Knicks ever. I'm gonna tell you what, he did a whole lot last night. I tell you, a whole lot last night to really sway my opinion about how I felt just a week ago. What's your thoughts on what we saw in game one last night, Adam?
Brunson is him. That guy is what we call a closer every time. He gets injured in the game, comes back, plays his heart out, and then when you need buckets down the stretch, he's the guy who's hitting buckets, hitting fadeaway jumpers over people, hitting step backs. You know what I mean? Dribble drive into the hole and throwing up prayer bombs. Now, I will say this for game one. I know we're talking about Brunson specifically, but you said, what about game one? I will say this. The Spurs played a hell of a game, okay? Good for the Spurs. They don't know. They're not ready yet to close out. I think they ran out of gas at the end of the game. And the one thing I noticed about the Spurs was they didn't hit shots when they were open. A lot of open shots. They had a lot of open opportunities. And they did not hit anything. And I think that's what cost them down the stretch is they just went cold. And then they had that quick comeback that they got, and then that big shot by Brunson when they miss it from the McBride shot, and then they get the rebound, and Brunson hits the dagger three and puts them up 97, 95. And then Wemby gets the ball and fumbles it, and then they go down the court again and score. I thought that sequence when they did not get that rebound, that offensive rebound, after they had just went up, was what killed them. There was two plays that really killed them in that game, and that was one of the major plays. I also have to give it up for Karl Anthony Towns. Okay, that guy played a heck of a game last night. He did what you want your bigs to do. Went in there, bodied up guys. Really played his heart out last night and kept the Knicks in the game so that then Brunson could come in and close it. Overall, I thought the Knicks were outplayed in the middle two quarters, but they held it together. And this is what championship teams do. Is you can see the experience between the two teams. One's been battle-tested in the Knicks, and one's very young in the Spurs that needs to know how to close out games, right? Had they been able to hit some shots down the stretch, they would have been able to close it out, but they just could not do that. And when you give this Knicks team a chance to come back and a chance to put a dagger in you, that's when Brunson can kill you. I think he's the best closer in the game. Like right now in the NBA, there's nobody that I want to have the ball than Jalen Brunson in the final 2 to 4 minutes of a game. Nobody. I don't care. You can name me LeBron. No, this is the guy I want in the last 2 minutes. He can create his own shot. He can hit off the dribble. He just got that ice in his veins.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more, man. What's going on in the chat? Tech Leroy Williams Franks says, how you guys feel about Brunson's performance shutting down the Alamo? About to talk about it, man. That's for damn sure. And what's going on, Alex, man? Appreciate you popping in, bro. Always good to see you, man. Always good to see you, brother. But yeah, Jalen Brunson, man, it's just nothing more. I can't say it. Like you said, he's absolutely the best closer right now in the game, in the business, man. When their backs was against the wall last night in that third quarter, thought that the way the Spurs came out of half and kind of started to run on the Knicks, man, I thought that game was about to spiral completely out of control. But then Jalen Brunson just took it over, man. He just took it over and had his way and did whatever he needed to do to bring his team back. He literally put the team on his back and said, follow me, fellas. I'm getting ready to bring us home. And that's what he did, man. Jalen Brunson shut that thing down. But I got a couple other things. Yeah, like you said, you already mentioned Karl Anthony Towns and the tremendous job he did last night. The defense on Wemby, and also when he would get his break in there, and they bring in Freeman, the same thing, man. He was holding it down as well. Really great defensive effort against Wemby. Great game plan. Definitely figured him out in a sense. But Josh Hart, man. Josh Hart did the dirty work last night, man. He only scored 3 points. But damn it, damn it to hell. He scored 3 points, but 15 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals. I mean, just absolutely all-out effort. Great team win for the Knicks last night, man. And this team, everybody was counting them out a bit, talking about, oh, the Western Conference is so much better. It's this, that. Knicks didn't play nobody. It's not for real. They just beat the weak teams in the Eastern Conference. They had an easy route to the finals. Well, they made a statement last night with that W. They made an absolute statement. They let you know that we are absolutely for real and we coming for it. The Knicks, this might just be for real, destiny for real, man. It might just really be that, like what it's all about with this team. That was a phenomenal victory last night. Backs against the wall, and just the things Jalen Brunson was able to do down the stretch. Now, don't get it twisted. Wemby ain't going nowhere. I mean, yes, they kind of kept him under control last night as far as on the offensive end, but Wemby was still very dominant on the defensive end last night, and that's still something they're going to have to figure out because look, Bridges came out, was ice cold last night. Didn't get much out of him. Like I said, Josh Hart only scored 3 points himself, even though he did. But he added so much more. So I think the Knicks got to just, they got to continue doing exactly what they did. If it ain't broke, do not fix it, man. You come out there in Game 2 tomorrow night, and you have a real opportunity. Because, I mean, the real goal was just getting one out here in San Antonio. But if you can go out there tomorrow night and get Game 2 as well, now we're cooking with gasoline. Now we're cooking for gasoline. You might as well go ahead and get the parade set up already if they go out there and win tomorrow night in Game 2.
Well, I can't disagree. I think it will be a big advantage, but I think they're going to come out with their hair on fire, the Spurs. Like we said about the Knicks and their role players, some of their guys are who their guys are. They were just out defense, and the San Antonio Spurs defense kept them in a game a lot. And I expect their team to shoot better. I expect Castle to shoot better. I expect Vassell to shoot better. Champagne, whatever that guy's name is, Champagne or whatever his name, he went ice cold in the second half. I don't expect that to happen. Those are the Knicks have played some teams, like I said, that if these teams can convert, right? Because if you watch what San Antonio does, they take a lot of dumb shots. Like they don't get second. If you take dumb shots and have nobody under the boards to grab the board, you're going to put yourself at disadvantage with the Knicks because all they're going to do is turn around quickly in transition and stop you. What they need to do is start to move past the ball and get good quality shots and knock them down when they have an opportunity, right? When they were getting offensive rebounds, they were getting out-rebounded underneath the paint, even though their guards are pretty good. Like you said, Josh Hart had 15 rebounds for the Knicks. The guards of the Spurs are good, too, and I would make a lineup change if I was Mitchell Robinson. First off, I've stopped playing the stupid switch shit. Keep Wemby in the middle of the fucking floor. Don't have him switch out and do nothing. If you want to play man, then you have him play man and play a soft type of zone where he guards Karl Anthony Towns, right? You need that guy in the paint. I also would probably put Vassell down and put Cornette in the game. Why would I put Cornette in the game? Because I need the extra rebounding. I have 3 shooters, 3 quality scoring options between, well, technically 4. I have Wemby. I have, Timon Foxen, who should be scoring points, but clearly did not do much last night, missed a ton of shots. If he hits some shots, maybe they win the game, right? Maybe they have a chance to close out the Knicks. I think Castle didn't have a great game either if he had shots. So you talk about those 4 guys, Wemby, Castle, those 3 guys, Wemby, Castle on the floor, right? And then you can add Vassell if you like, or Champagne, whoever. I would put Harper on the floor with them, right? And put those 4, that would be my 5 guys. What does it do? I know Cornette's not the greatest, but If you're going to leave Wemby outside and he has more mobility than Cornette, then leave Cornette in the middle to play the center position. And you have Wemby be the pseudo power forward to go out and do the stretch. The stretch. It gives you two bigs. It gets you an extra guy bodied out on the boards to help rebound. Right. That would be my lineup. And Harper just gives them nothing but juice. He can create his own shot. Like the other guys, I like that they have them in the starting lineup. That's a very Popovich type of lineup. I think Mitchell Robinson needs to start to switch it up a bit and really kind of counter with what guys are doing. Because I thought the bench of the Spurs did a semi-decent job defensively in the game. Offensively, they couldn't score buckets at all, but they kept their team close enough in the game, hitting shots and fouls. The one thing I will say for the Knicks that they need to work on, we just talked about the Spurs, but let me transition to the Knicks. The Knicks need to stop getting into foul trouble. You kept the Spurs in the game by allowing them to go to the foul line with 7 minutes to go in the quarter, in the third and fourth quarter, because you're getting fouls. I expect that to still be the case this coming game, and I expect the Spurs to be at full throat in this game. If they go down 0-2, you might as well call it curtains, right? Curtains upon curtains. And I think the Spurs team kind of knows what they did wrong. I want to see if their players, now that they have another day of sleeping at home, right? Because they were in OKC, you had to travel back. You only had a couple of days. Then you had to get practice in. I'm not trying to make excuses, but that kind of gives you a whirlwind. Now that you've settled and you know that you're here in the finals and you had that moment, let's see how Wemby comes out this game. Let's see if he is a bit more aggressive and see how Mitchell Robinson tweaks that lineup. Because I do feel in some of the defensive instances, while their defense was good, why is Jalen Brunson getting mismatched against Wemby? Like, how is that happening? How are you letting that in? Why is that a good idea? And then why is Karl Anthony Towns on like Simone Fox? DeAndre Fox, right? Like what are we talking about here? You need to figure out your defense and figure out how to combat that, because those matchups favor the Knicks. And you need to figure out how you can stop Karl Anthony Towns for when Wemby's out, because when Wemby's out of the game, the Knicks couldn't do shit when he was in the game. When he was out of the game, that's when they made their run. Karl Anthony Towns attacked the basket and they won. It wasn't until a Herculean effort and cold shooting by the Spurs where Brunson took over. Because if you do what they did last night again with the Knicks and the Spurs, and you don't go on a run, because this is what the Spurs would do. They go down court, they take a three, they'd miss. The Knicks would come down, score. They go down, and it was like, what are you doing? Get back to what worked in the first half, where you were passing the ball, doing screens, attacking the rim. And I honestly believe it's fatigue from Game 7 that they just ran out of gas against this physical Knicks team who got their legs under them in the fourth quarter because they only played 4 games in 23 days, or whatever Mike Breen was saying, playing 4 games in 23 days. So almost, however many rests that they had. It was a long time that they had off, right? So that's what I would say for the Spurs. I thought it was a great game. Good for the Knicks. Maybe you're right, Mac. Team of destiny. Sometimes, why I think they're a team of destiny? That McBride shot. That was the other play that went in. McBride takes a shot from the corner. Looks like a prayer shot. Looks like an absolute prayer shot. I'm like, oh, Spurs are going to go grab the rebound, run back down the court, and take the lead here. And it bounces off the backboard and goes in. And I'm like, oh, that's the type of night. That's the type of team. And those are the type of shots the Knicks have been hitting all playoff long.
I mean, yeah, that was a great analysis. And Tech Leroy Williams said that was a great analysis, Adam, by the way, man. Throwing you a compliment there, man. But
thank you.
But so how do I follow that up? I think what it is, a little fun fact about the Spurs team is that they are the youngest team to ever advance to the NBA Finals. And this is a very young team that may just be a year away from really truly starting what I think is getting ready to be another Spurs dynasty, to be quite frank, because what they got on that team, the Wemby and all the other talented young players all around them, this team ain't going nowhere, man. That team ain't going nowhere. This is the year where they're ripe for the picking. They're young. This is their first time being there, and they're ripe for the pickings right now. The Knicks got to take advantage of this moment because the Spurs, trust me, when I tell you, they are getting ready to be a dynasty, but it ain't starting off this year. That's all it's going to be. I think as for Wemby, I think what would be a smart thing for Wemby, man, is to me, I know his game is what it is offensively, but get down in the blocks a little bit more if you have to, man. Get Karl-Anthony Towns in that foul trouble because Karl-Anthony Towns will commit the dumb fouls if you get him, put the pressure on him, man. And I think that's something they need to really kind of do, force the action a little bit more from that standpoint. Karl-Anthony Towns, tremendous job defensively last night, man. But I think Wemby, you kind of made it a little easy for him anyway, in a sense. That's all. That's my one thing I say about that. As far as what they can do, something they can do to maybe help attack the Knicks a little bit better and have a little bit more success. I think if you get those guys, because once you get Karl-Anthony Towns in foul trouble, then like I said, comes in, but he can't provide on offense the same thing that Cat can. So that would be probably something that they should maybe look into doing, I would think. Bookends. Say, go New York, go New York, go. That's right, man. Look. Ain't no men's professional team won a title in New York since the New York Football Giants did it in 2011. No, the Liberty won a couple of years ago over there in WNBA, but yeah, New York's ready for this one right here, man. And I think this Knicks team is I just feel like after what I watched last night, I just don't see how they lose this series, man. This team is they're focused. This ain't no fluke. The way they've been demolishing everybody, the fact that they were down 14 in the third quarter last night against this great young Spurs team, and still came back and won by double digits. Yeah, this Knicks team is real, man, and I think the Spurs found that out last night firsthand, exactly how real it is, man, how real this team is. Everybody keeps just talking about what they are, what they're not going to do, and what they can't do. I think they showed everybody exactly what they are, what they made of. And like I said, Jalen Brunson is absolutely him.
Well, the thing that stops Brunson is athletic two guards that can come at him in waves, and then you funnel him into Wemby, where Wemby can tower over him and make him take those awkward shots. If you don't, and you let him get airspace and run around and do everything, which is what I think the Spurs did. They ran out of gas towards the end because they weren't hitting shots. They were Brick City. Then they had a little flurry at the end. But what kept them in the game is, again, foul trouble is what kept them in the game. I expect a better shooting performance from this, at least Castle. Because if Wemby can get a guy that can drop 20, 25 and him play, and then they get the same kind of effort that they got, I think they can win the game against New York, right? New York right now doesn't have really a weakness. The thing that they have right now is the best closer in the game. And the other role players, all they have to do when you have a closer like him is make your shots when they're there. That's it. Like Shampet, whoever that guy is, he's making his shots. That's all he's doing. He's not a great player. He's not this great, starter. He bounced around to 6 different teams. But you know what happens when you have a guy like Jalen Brunson on the floor? All I have to do is my job. And if I do my job, and I contribute, we're going to have a chance. Same thing with Alvarado, right? That guy hit some big shots and some timely shots, but the Knicks understand the moment. They understand what to do, and they know that they have a closer that as long as they keep it close, a guy like Brunson can keep them in the game. And then you have guys like Anunoby who could have a horrible game, but all they need to do is hit 1 or 2 big threes down the stretch, and that kind of puts them over the top. And what happens with the Spurs is, when you run out of gas, like the Spurs teams that we talked about in like with the Duncan era and the Popovich era, they always had a guy like Amanu Ginobili that would come off the bench and give them a spark, right? Which is what Harper is right now. But the rest of the players were good on the Spurs, right? These other young players are still young; they're still finding their footing, right? And they're missing free throws and they're missing big moments. And I think they were very nervous as well in this game. You could see the nerves. I would like to see what happens now in this game. We're backs against the wall for the Spurs team, because if I'm Mitchell Robinson, you did a great job. You had a big task. I think you felt yourself a little bit in terms of like you guys were feeling yourself after Game 7. You came out, you got mollywopped in the first quarter. You basically came back in the second quarter, then take the lead into halftime, and you basically were good end to end. And then at the end of the third quarter, because you were in foul trouble and Wemby was out with a bit of an injury, here come the Knicks, right? and then you don't hit your shots in the back end. Like, for example, when he comes out, somebody else needs to be the focal point to open up and stretch out that defense. When you don't have that, it ends up doing more harm than good because the Knicks then don't need to worry about anybody and their defense can stay on you. If they're moving when Wemby's in the game, what happens is they tend to lose a defender to kind of shade on him so he doesn't dominate, right? And then what does that do? That leaves an open shooter, and that open shooter then allows for more movement, right? Because now you have an open shooter, you have Wemby, but when Wemby's out of the game and nobody's scoring to allow the Knicks to double team and get guys open, that's where you play right into their hands. And I think that the Spurs need to come up with a better strategy offensively. Like, just don't take shots from just to take a three. Wait till Wemby's there or Cornette's under the rim. So you have some type of rebounding. I know you can't just rely on your guards to do it. You pay big men big money to do that. Wemby happens to be an exceptionally gifted offensive player, but you need him to be in there grabbing boards, making tips, and playing the center position. I don't need you taking threes, Wemby. While it's good and it's keeping your team in the game, and he did what he needed to do, I need him down in the paint to get those offensive rebounds. But when nobody else is helping him, it ends up being a star carrying four other players, like LeBron James did with that Cleveland Cavaliers team. But I think this team has more talent. I think Castle didn't play up to his playoff games, and you've seen that with Castle. He's been very inconsistent. 1 minute he'll have a 13-point game and 14 turnovers. The next thing you know, he's shooting the lights up the gym, right? But if they can get him to be that guy, I see them having a better chance in game two. If those players play the same way, they're going home early. You can just kiss it goodnight because they're not going to win any in New York, right? With 2 games looming in New York, you need to win. You need to win at least one in San Antonio. Now San Antonio is where the Knicks were in game 1. They need to split the home games now so that when they go into New York, if they happen to lose, you still have a pulse because you still have 2 games in your building, right? Or at least 1 game in your building to get back on track. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big game.
Absolutely is. It's absolutely a huge one, man. But they just got to get Wemby some easier looks, man. Like, just get them closer to the rim, man. I think that's just what they really need to do. The Spurs need to do to really take this thing over. Like I said, get him in there in the paint, and he's going to do damage, man. And anybody that's in there is just not going to be able to stop him down there. I agree with you. Sometimes I understand his game. He's such a, like you said, so talented. But sometimes you just got to be the big man that you are, man, and go down there and start and do what you got to do. That's what it's going to take in this one. You're going to have to really dig it all out, Wemby, if you want the Spurs to get back into this one, man. Here, I just feel like the Knicks they're too physical. And the fact, we're not even talking about Mikal Bridges and the fact that he had a pretty much a god-awful game last night offensively. Brilliant on the defensive end of the court. Brilliant, as always, on the defensive end of the court. But offensively, he probably had one of his worst, maybe it might have been his worst offensive performance of the whole damn playoffs, to be quite frank. I think that's another thing that the Spurs have going against them is the fact that pretty much can't count on that happening again. I mean, the way he's been playing all throughout the whole postseason, I think that that's another thing that we're not talking enough about is the fact that the Knicks got this done, and we know how great Jalen Brunson is. But Mikal Bridges was ice cold last night, and he's also a guy that's been adding so much to the Knicks on the offensive side, shooting the ball really well throughout the postseason. So that's something else to keep an eye on going heading into game 2 tomorrow night is what the Knicks can do. But if you got any more thoughts, Adam, on this, you want to talk a little bit more about how you feel the rest of the series could play out, or you want to move on?
I'll give a little bit more of a synopsis on the series real quick. And that is, I think the Spurs, in order for this to be a real series, have to win this game. If they win this game, then we're talking about a team getting their confidence back. It's not like they can't play with the Knicks. It's not like they can't beat the Knicks. They're up by 14. How do we close it out? We need to figure out how to close it out, right? That was their problem against OKC. That was their problem against a lot of these teams. They let them back in, and it is the Wemby factor. When Wemby comes out of the game, they don't play the same way. So the Spurs, what they need to do is figure out when to take Wemby out, right? If you're up by 10, You take Wemby out, they score like 3 points, you bring them back in. Okay, you don't let it get to 5, 6, under 7, right? If you're up double digits, you let that kid ride rail to rail. I think what Wemby needs to do, to be honest with you, is play 45, 42 minutes, 48 minutes, whatever the number is. I'm sorry. Like you need to play 40 plus minutes a night in this playoffs because we need you that much. That's how much he impacts the game. And yes, he can, you got Cornette and all that and Mason Plumlee. Maybe that's a guy they need to bring in as well because I think he's a little bit stouter than Cornette. He's a guy that you don't need to bring him in for much, just a rebound or two. Sometimes guys like that, you see what the Knicks do with Mitchell Robinson. Sometimes Mitchell Robinson doesn't play that many minutes. Sometimes it adds up to 20 minutes depending on the run, but usually he plays about 10 to 12 minutes. I'm not asking you to play Mason Plumlee that much. I'm asking you to play him 5 minutes and really have a guy in there that they can be scared of when it comes to intimidation in the blocking game, right? As opposed to when you bring in Cornette, he while he's big and can do certain things, he doesn't have the imposing figure that a Mason Plumlee does or Wemby does. So for me, if I'm strategically looking at this, I would not do that stupid switch zone that they do, the switch play man. Just say, you're Karl Anthony Towns, and if this guy comes in, you shade to his side. I don't want to see all this bullshit that they were running last night. I think that's what confused them. I think that's what cost them because you're getting the Knicks are just getting matchups that they want, right? They're getting Karl Anthony Towns on a smaller guy. They're getting Brunson on a bigger guy because of how you're playing defense. I would say play a zone defense, let your guards roam around, let them come to you as opposed to going to them, or play a strict man where you have to be able to, guard your man up. If you can't guard your man up, like I said, play zone, allow Wemby to roam around in that painted area to make shots imposing. When you bring guys like Cornette to the top because you're trying to guard Karl Anthony Towns because he's hitting a jumper, let him hit that jumper. I'll take that jumper all day, every day from Karl Anthony Towns. What I don't want is Karl Anthony Towns clogging up the middle and getting double rebounds and allowing my guards to be able to go in there and jump in because there are not that many big guys in there, But when you do that and you bring Cornette out, you're leaving and you have nobody down there to go rebound. Let's be honest, Castle and Champagne and all those guys, they're not big when it comes to Mitchell Robinson, OG Anunoby, and all those guys. You're at a disadvantage. So the Spurs really need to come up with a game plan where they can utilize their bigs more and figure out how they can really rim protect. Because if they can rim protect a little bit more and get those second chance opportunities, they're going and hit the open shots. I know I'm saying a lot, but hit the open shots that are there that their team are capable of doing. It's going to be a different series. I honestly believe if they hit a few more shots, Damone Foxon hits a couple shots and gets his average or averages like 15, 16 points and really is a threat, I don't think the Knicks come back. But because those guys, they didn't believe in those guys, they're running out of gas. We got a guy like Castle who is a streaky shooter and Vassell who wasn't hitting the far side of a barn. That's what you get. So we'll see if they can improve there. They improve in the 3-point game. We got a different ball game.
Absolutely. I'm not lying about that. But shout out to Landry Shamet too as well. Shout out to him. Also coming off the bench for the Knicks last night with some key buckets. And so shout out to him.
But that's what guys on the Spurs need to do. They need to have a guy like that jumps in and can get them timely buckets. They didn't have that last night. Their role players didn't go above the X's and O's, so to speak. They were just there. While they were good, it's fine. I'm glad that you're there. I need you to be more than just there. I need you to be present. I need you to be able to, score a 3-point basket, get going a little bit of a run. When you got a guy like Shamet in the game, he changes that dynamic and puts the pressure on the Spurs bench because they need to match his energy, his intensity, and what he's doing. So the Spurs need to find somebody to come in and get some scoring done.
Absolutely. And on that note, let's change gears. Let's talk a little New York Giant football, Adam, man. Obviously, big news of the week for the New York Giants is OBJ, the prodigal son, has returned. to the New York Giants. He's here with the team in the spring, and I'm saying it like that because right now that's what he is, here with the team in the spring. Nothing is guaranteed to one Mr. Odell Beckham Jr. But what's your thoughts on what the New York Giants did this week, and what you got to talk about? How you feel about them, man?
Well, I feel like the desperate football player comes home, right? Like I like Odell Beckham Jr. and all this, but he really was doing a lot of like, you know, I guess like peacocking and making it seem like he wanted to be here. And it was about timing, right? Timing needed to happen. Barrios goes down, you know, they had an opening, and here you go. Obviously, the kicking game was a factor because they had to bring in Juju Smith-Schuster, and they cut one of their three kickers that they have in camp. So for me, Odell Beckham Jr., I'm not expecting. If you're expecting 2014 Odell Beckham Jr., I don't know what to tell you. For me, I'm all about the young guys, right? You brought in Malachi Fields. You brought in a Calvin Austin. You have Malik Neighbors there, right? You brought in Darnell Mooney. Those are my guys I need to focus on. Those are my guys that I need to make sure get the burn that they are, because I don't know about you, but Mooney's getting paid a decent amount of money to be on this team. You're not going to put that guy on the bench all of a sudden for a veteran minimum Odell Beckham Jr. unless Odell comes like in gangbusters. But I'm like with you, I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't expect much out of him, especially if you look at it. He doesn't play special teams right now. I don't know if you saw the depth chart for OTAs as punt returner, but Barrios was the lead punt returner. So if you're keeping Barrios as the lead punt returner, right? Like let's say right now, because that's what Jordan Renan posted, right? He posted that, you know, Barrios got the first crack at it, and then it was Calvin Austin and a few others. Well, here's the thing: where does that leave Odell Beckham Jr.? Because if let's say Juju Smith-Schuster's there and he can block and he provides something in the run game in terms of a blocker out there, and OBJ can do exactly what Mooney does, but Mooney's younger, and we hope to have him here because he's only 29, maybe after next year, as opposed to OBJ who's 34. That's the guy I want to see. Now, again, OBJ is getting the vet minimum, which tells me that they also don't believe, you know, he's got much left to offer in terms of that. So we'll see what happens. You know, it's exciting for the fans. It's exciting for, you know, some people. But for me, it's just he's just another player. If he makes the team, great. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But the things I'm bringing up are legit concerns that you have. Where if he, I mean, do you believe he's going to be the fourth receiver on this team come game day?
Oh no, not right now. No. I wouldn't put money on that right now.
Okay, so who are your top four? Like right now, who are your top four receivers? There's 13 on the roster, or 14 on the roster, whatever it is. But who are your top four guys? And then we can talk about the fringe guys.
I think it's pretty obvious who the top four are. I mean, I think it's almost self-explanatory. As a matter of fact, I mean, Malik, Darnell Mooney, Calvin Austin III, and Malachi Fields right now. I mean, without a doubt. It's absolutely the top. Those four, to me, that's guaranteed. Those spots to me are that's it. Those four are they're going to be on a 53 come September for sure.
Okay, so some people dove into the history of John Harbaugh, and they say he only keeps about 6 receivers, right? So that leaves 2 spots left if we're doing the six technique, because I do believe they're going to have to only keep 6 because they're going to have to keep 4 running backs or 3 running backs and 4 tight ends or whatever it is if you count Picard, right? So let's just use the 6. All right, where does Slayton go? Because you and I talked about this yesterday. If I'm the Giants and Slayton does anything in camp, I'm trading him. So at least I get some value out of the team, because if you have Odell Beckham Jr. here, Braxton Berrios, and Juju Smith-Schuster, and you look at Darius Slayton, what does he do? He doesn't really play special teams. So I'd rather trade him if he's healthy this training camp. If he comes in and he lights it up after his injury, so for me, I don't have him on the team. So my 5th receiver then becomes Odell, right? And then I can keep either Berrios or Juju Smith-Schuster. However, if I keep Darius Slayton, it becomes a battle of 3 spots, and I have to tell you that the guy that makes the most sense for a 6th receiver would be Braxton Berrios at that point, because he plays special teams. I can get him out of a punt returner, and he can be a backup slot receiver as well, which provides more versatility. And then the other thought process is if I keep a six receiver, again, the other guy I would put back there, if they're being number six, is Juju Smith-Schuster because he's less of a distraction at number six than Odell Beckham Jr. would be. But that's just my thought.
No, I told you, like you said, when we were talking yesterday about it, it's a great thought, like the Darius Slayton angle, because out of all of those guys, Darius Slayton would have most likely the greatest trade value. I mean, that's just real. Darius Slayton's been on the team since he's been in the league. 2019, he's been here. He's been on the squad. It's been his career hasn't really at this point yet hasn't been in any kind of question. There's been no real true question mark. He is what he is, a fifth round receiver. That's does pretty much what I guess all you can really truly expect out of a fifth round receiver. You know what I mean? He's done it pretty consistently his whole career. He has and he just has more like you said, he comes in and lights it up. It probably would be kind of smart to maybe explore some options to see what you could possibly get for Darius Slayton, just to get something like you said, especially if, for instance, you do have Beckham, Schuster performing also pretty well, and it's like you're kind of questioning it, but pretty much can't really trade those guys and get much of anything. So it's like, I mean, not that you're going to get a whole lot for Darius, not that you're going to get a haul for Darius Slayton either, but at the end of the day, I think you get a little bit more for him. So that would definitely be an avenue of road to go down, man. It just makes sense. It would definitely make sense for this crowded receiver room right now. But all that aside, Odell Beckham, I think with people, just the way their expectations are, I just wish people would temper him a little bit. It's fun to have the guy back. I get it. He's a Giants legend, and he's great. But people are talking as if this guy is just, he's so much better than this person and that person and that person. Well, this person and that person and that person you're pretty much talking about are guys that were employed in the NFL last year or the last couple of years, where Odell Beckham, he ain't did much of nothing in the NFL in the last couple of years. So all these guys he's so much better than, I don't know why they got to think about the fact that they've had homes and he hasn't. I mean, to be quite frank. So it's just like, it's cool. I'm rooting for the guy, of course, sure. I would love to see him defy the odds and come out and just be gangbusters, and all of a sudden he just really can be a really productive receiver again. That would be an amazing story. Be like a fairy tale, though, you know what I mean? And that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, man. Look, I don't expect it, but I would love to see it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I would love to see it, but I just don't expect it. And I think people have just set the bar way too high. And honestly, even higher than himself. I mean, if you listen to him talk, you heard him talk yesterday, Adam. I don't know if you did or not, but this is a humble young man now. You know what I mean? He's a humble young man. He's not that same cocky, arrogant ODB from back in the day, man. He understands the situation. He knows that he's not walking out there and his spot's just guaranteed, it's signed, sealed, and delivered. He knows he has to go out there and earn it. He knows, and for what it's worth, he's going to put the work in. But there's a lot of other variables.
Oh, that's good.
A lot of other variables with him. You know what I mean? The injuries and everything else.
That's what I would be concerned about is you haven't played, you use PEDs, right? I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop with Odell. If he comes back and pulls a hamstring, he's gone. Like if he misses any time in the summer with an injury, he's gone. It's veteran minimum deal. So he doesn't have time to waste like maybe a Darnell Mooney. You could say, you know what, Mooney, we'll keep you on the sideline. We'll keep you rested for the Dallas game because we invested $10 million in you. We'd rather have you healthy than that. Odell Beckham Jr. doesn't have that leeway, right? Neither does Juju Smith-Schuster. But his leg up in this thing that no one's talking about is he knows the offense. He came from Matt Nagy's offense in Kansas City. So if anybody has an advantage, it's him. He knows the plays where he needs to be. If Odell makes a mistake and Dart throws an interception in practice, they're going to blame Dart in the interception. They're not going to blame Odell and then not knowing. Now, I'm not saying that Odell can't pick it up because it's Harbaugh. He was also with Harbaugh and Greg Roman as well. However, when you think about it, Matt Nagy is the offensive coordinator, so he's going to put a lot of his imprint on to this and use his language and concepts. So it may not, even though Greg Roman may be in it and Greg Roman can maybe explain to Odell some things that might parallel when he was with the Ravens, it's still a new language that everybody's learning. And what people keep forgetting is we signed a tight end, by the name of Isaiah Likely, who's also going to make plays. And if he's healthy, that's another receiver on the field. So now let's talk about formation. If we're talking formation, right, Isaiah Likely is going to be on the field all the time, all the fucking time. Okay. So that limits you to having about three receivers on the field and a running back, or four receivers on the field and no running back. How are you going to play this out, right? Or you do double tight ends and everything like this. So what that means to me is the top four guys, Mooney, especially with Neighbors and all that, they're going to have to get the burn. Now, what the factor that we're not talking about and no one's mentioned, which I'm a little concerned with, you signed three guys, tells me that Malik Neighbors' knee is not 100%. And I think that's what is the real reason why we have Odell Beckham Jr. here. Not because we think he's some nostalgic guy, but it allows us not to push Malik Neighbors. It allows us not to worry about him and get him ready for whenever that is. I don't think he's starting the season at game one. I just don't. I don't believe it. And that's why I think they're bringing in these veterans so that they don't have that bereft of talent. So like last year when everybody went down, when Malik Neighbors went down, we had scrubs like Isaiah Hodgins running down the field. We had Darius Slayton, who was MIA during certain games. We had, and for me, that's why I believe in Jackson Dart, because of what he did last year with nobody on the field. You gave him Theo Johnson. Now you're going to give him Isaiah Likely. So you really, when you bring in this Odell Beckham Jr. thing, you can't just think in a micro level. Like, oh, what's he going to do for the receiving corps? You got to look at a macro level in terms of formations, what the Giants are trying to do this year, how they're trying to have an identity on offense. If you're running 12 personnel, two tight ends, right, Theo and Isaiah Likely, that means Mooney and either Malachi Fields, Mooney and Neighbors, Mooney and Fields and Mooney, like whatever combination you want. Maybe you bring in an Austin if you don't need the third tight end, which you can do a lot of things with. So this is really why the Odell Beckham Jr. thing to me doesn't make sense. The other reason why I wouldn't want this is like I really wanted them to bring in guys that they're going to bring in next year, because another problem that no one's talking about is if you look at the roster, you and I spoke about this, there's like three guys on the roster next year that are guaranteed to be here by contract, not necessarily by that. One of them's Malachi Fields, one of them's Malik Neighbors, and the other one is Darius Slayton, but we don't know if he's even going to be on the Giants next season because they'll have one season left. And again, if he gets any burn, he'll probably want to be traded, right? So, Hyatt's gone. All these other guys that you drafted and brought in are all gone now. So you have no resources in the place. So for me, if they had made a trade or got a Jordan Tyson or another guy that I could have believed in, like I believe in Malachi Fields, but let's be honest, I think he's going to be the third receiver at best. And you don't want to expect that much expectation. However, you traded up for that guy. That guy's playing, okay? Just like you had Hyatt. That guy's going to fucking be out there because you invested in him. So with Mooney and the investment that you made and Isaiah Likely, it's really hard for me to believe that Odell Beckham Jr. has a legit shot to get actual burn if he makes the team.
It's an uphill battle, man. It's definitely going to be an uphill battle for him. But talk about the receivers a little bit. Like you said, we to bring on Juju Smith-Schuster, they released Jason Sanders, one of the three kickers they had in camp. Interesting move. Jason Sanders, you would have almost thought would have been the guy that had the inside edge, like on winning the job potentially, just because he's the vet, the most veteran. He was the most veteran guy in the room, the guy they brought in out of free agency this off season, and yet he's the guy that they end up sending home. Now John Harbaugh also said it's a possibility he may even go look to bring him back. So everything's on the table. Anything's still on the table, but I just like the competition John Harbaugh is creating with this football team. Excuse me. It's just competition at every level, all over the field, man. In the secondaries, you got great competition. In the wide receiver room is just absolutely crazy. I mean, look at even the tight end room. I mean, that people are not talking about. You still got a couple of guys jockeying for them last couple of spots. I mean, Theo Johnson and Isaiah Likely, you can pretty much say pencil them in as tight end 1, tight end 2. But after that, man, all bets are off, man. I mean, I know people are talking man hurts because of what he can do with the run game and his blocking ability, but that's not no game. I wouldn't call him a guarantee at this point. So it's just a lot of great competition across the offensive line. So much depth has been brought into this football team, man, that I don't even know what I'm looking at when I look at this New York Giant roster anymore. It's not what I'm used to. We're going to have tough cuts, and we're going to have a lot of good guys getting released at the end of training camp that people are going to be lined up for. That's what we're going to be in that situation this year. That's something we haven't dealt with or experienced in the last couple of years, man.
Well, that's good because that means your roster's growing. That means people believe in your roster. But the thing about that, Mac, is we're going to see how good of a GM that extension for Joe Shane really is, because these are the type of roster situations good GMs find and get good players and acquire talent. If the 2027 draft is good, or even in the 2028 draft, so you could move up and down the 2027 draft, acquire more picks. Do it with guys that are needed. Don't just let guys get cut if you hear them need to be traded. Try to make that trade. People don't realize fifth and sixth and seventh round picks now are valuable more so than they've ever been, not because of necessarily the players that they can net you, but the currency that it gives you to move up and down the draft, right? Because people will throw in an extra fifth or a sixth or whatever. I'm not saying cut the draft off at 4, but and I'm not saying you can't get good players at 5. There's been plenty of people who've made teams at 5 and 6. But what I'm saying is take something instead of nothing, because you can move up and down draft boards or acquire talent. The whole point of building a roster is to get the best players and the most talent. So if you get a lot of draft picks, well, good. Just know that the bare minimum I want to leave with on a day-to-day basis is at least 6 draft picks. That's the bare minimum I want to leave with. So remember, the Giants have 3 6th-round picks. Look what they got. They got Jack Kelly. They got JG, the guard, and then they had the tackle that they drafted, the defensive tackle. All those players look like they have high upside and potential, right? So if you think that those guys are solid, and you're getting those veteran players now in college, remember, who are gonna drop to the 5th and 6th round because of their age and the longevity of what they've done in college, you're going to get older players whose stock may not be as high because you've got a Malinoa who's in there at 20, but I got a guy who's at a guard at 25. I'm not going to spend a first-round pick on that guy, but I can kick him down to a 5th or a 6th, depending on certain circumstances. So what does that mean? Well, you're going to get more talented guys who are older in college coming out, so acquire those 5th and 6th round picks. If we have the talent, which, like Max said, we haven't had in years, where people are going to line up and go get our players because somebody we're cutting from the linebacker room or from the running back room or from whatever room. Some people are going to come get some of our players, as will we. I don't want the Giants to waste any draft capital in this regard unless you need it. Like unless a receiver falls to you, like someone's getting rid of Keon Coleman, right, or Xavier Legette or something like that, and in a position that you need. And it's going to only cost you a conditional like 6th round pick or something like that, then yes, that's a move you want to make because you have no receivers. But don't just take any Joe Schmo or make any trades for no reason. So if we're going to really find out this fall, this late July and August when they make the cuts, if Joe Shane is really a good GM, because I want to see him. You got the extension now. You take the low hanging fruit like Arvell Reese and all that. Let's see your late round picks. Let's get them. And with John Harbaugh kind of running the show and Don Apatow kind of there as well, and these other guys that they're bringing in that are now new talent evaluators, I want to see how they utilize these back end picks. Because if you know, Mac, you know us. The Giants have had a history of having late round picks do well, over the years. Jesse Armstead's one that comes to mind. You've had guys like Victor Cruz, who was an undrafted player who came through. You've had a ton of other players and lower end players like Conrad Hamilton started for us back in the day. Percy Ellsworth was a starting safety for us back in the day. Jesse Campbell was a 5th round pick. He was back there doing things. So it's not out of. You had Jabril Wilson, who nobody talks about. James Butler, right? When we actually had good scouting, we had actual undrafted players that did well. So I want to see this summer how Joe Shane operates, because this is the time you get the gems. This is the time you find those players that can help you down the road without giving up an arm and a leg.
Absolutely. Oh, one more thing, just to touch back on the Odell Beckham thing real quick, because like I said, if you listen to John Harbaugh and him and Odell Beckham both spoke yesterday after practice. And Harbaugh, I was shocked when he said it, but he was like saying Odell Beckham is healthier than he was the year he had him in Baltimore. He said right now he's currently healthier than he was that season. So and Beckham reassured that as well, saying this is healthy. He's been. So I don't know just what you want to weigh, what you want to put into that, but at the same time, he seems determined. He does seem determined. I will say that much. He does seem very determined and understands the situation. So,
let's play it out, okay? He's a healthy guy. John Harbaugh, I hope he is healthy because I wouldn't want to bring in, a one-wheeled Odell Beckham Jr. However, he wasn't healthy in 2024. He just was out the league for PEDs, right? So it's not like he wasn't healthy. And if he's healthier than he was in Baltimore, I got to wonder if he's still on the PEDs because you don't go reverse in age in football, right? 34 years old, you're not just all of a sudden going to, unless you're LeBron James, and we can get into what he's using as well. Don't tell me he's not. But unless you're that kind of a freak of an athlete, to me, I'm not worried about it. If he makes plays, great. Then the Giants look good. I'm looking at it as a long-term deal, right? If Odell Beckham Jr. comes in here, I'm not giving him money next year at 34 or 30, going in 35. He's at the back end of his career. I believe the real reason he's here is to get a broadcasting gig, to be honest with you, to rub elbows with people because he had more connections back there, to get into acting or whatever other endeavors he wants to do. LA had that stuff, but when they shipped him out, he had nowhere to go. LA didn't want him, right? So, and Odell Beckham Jr., if he's the healthiest he's been, there weren't many teams lining up to get him, right? There weren't people knocking down his door to say, hey, Odell, we need you. And trust me, this is the NFL, okay? If Odell Beckham Jr. had any gas in the tank, he'd be with somebody right now. The fact that he was with Baltimore 2 years ago, he hasn't played football, really good football in 2 years, is something that I need to see. I need to see him take contact, get hit, go through the rigors of this training camp, right? Because, it's all good now in shorts in June. I'm healthy in June. Look at me. Woo, woo. I'm jumping around right now, ladies and gentlemen, because I haven't lifted up my son yet and pulled my back or done any of that stuff yet. Wait till the physical stuff happens, and let's see how it plays out. Again, to me, he's 34 years old. I'm only expecting this guy to be a coach on the field, a mentor to these young guys, and somebody that can come in and make a play here or two when we need it, right? God forbid. If Darius Slayton decides to have a drop-a-thon, I can take him out the game and put in Odell Beckham Jr. Again, it's going to rely on roster construction and special teams. If you're keeping, all these kickers or you're keeping all these return men, right? Or you're keeping 4 running backs, I don't know where I can put him on the game day roster, right? So there may be times where we don't see Odell Beckham Jr. get a shirt, and people got to be okay with that. There are going to be times where we see him get a shirt. Hell, he might outplay everyone. And if that's the case, great for the Giants. But the last few years, he hasn't outplayed many players. And let's be honest, the Baltimore Ravens don't have anybody at receiver, really. They have one guy. And he, while he started a lot of games, he got about 500 yards. Okay, Juju Smith-Schuster last year got 300 yards and playing in a helter-skelter offense that didn't have an identity. So you're basically saying you're giving me the same production out of both those guys, and one's 4 years younger. I'm taking the guy who's 4 years younger. I'm sorry. I'm going to be my sixth receiver.
Crazy because Juju, it seems like he's been in the league forever. It seems like, and this guy's still not even 30 yet. He's still not even 30. That's what it's so crazy to me when I was like, he's not even 30 yet. Like it seems like he's like, what the fuck?
I know, and it's a little weird. It's so weird. Like Juju, I've been in the league for like 10 years almost. He's been in the league 10 years, and he's only 29. Like, what, you coming in at 19? Like, what did I miss here? What did I miss?
It's crazy.
But like I said, if you look at what Juju is his build, he's 6'1", 215, right? What are the Giants looking to do this year? They look to be, if you look at their offense, they're going to be downhill. So if I'm looking at the 3 guys, Berrios to me, the reason why I'm putting a star next to him is because he's a return man. He's a kicker and a punt return. He's dual functioning. Plus, he can catch. That adds an element to the game. Plus, he's also a couple years younger than Beckham, right? I'm not trying to get Beckham out because the more we talk about it, probably listen to our podcast right now. So these freaks, they're counting me out. I'm going to kick their ass, right? And maybe he's listening to me and Mac, slander his name right now, and he ends up having a great season. I don't know. But what I'm saying is when I look at the roster and I talk about being a coach and versatility and how I can look to utilize players, I need to have a package for Odell Beckham Jr. See, I don't need to have one for Juju. He can either have a jersey or not, but if he gets a jersey, I know that he can play special teams. He can be on kickoff. He can be on field. He can do a lot more things because he's got a bigger bodied to do it. Malachi Fields is definitely going to be playing special teams. If you don't think he's playing special teams, I'm sorry, you might be out your mind you know, if you don't know that. So with that being said, Odell, we're wishing him luck, all the power to him. But let's be real, he has a long shot to make the team, and it's one of those things where you need to really worry about the young guys who might be here next year, not the guys who are only here to collect the paycheck and try to revive their broadcast career. Because let's be honest, do you think they're going to sign him next year, even if they have a good season, do a big deal? I don't.
No, that's not realistic.
So then what's the next option, right? He's going to, do Russell Wilson and say, hey, I'm going to go work at CBS now,
Yeah, I mean, look, that's another thing. That's funny talking about the age thing, because that's something else he brought up about his age. And I'm not saying he's not old. He's like, since when is 33 old? In life, 33 is not old. You're right. You're still a young man in life. But in football years, bro, that's kind of starting to creep up on the ancient years. You know what I mean? In football years. So I think he needs to understand that's all that's coming from, man. Look, you're not actually an old man. But in football years,
but if you look at receivers who play at that age, in that age range, those age range receivers are about 6'4", 6'1", big bodied guys who can be possession receivers. They don't need their speed to win, right? Whereas Odell Beckham Jr. has to have speed, has to be, get off press man. He has a lot.
He can still run 21 miles an hour. He said he can still 21.
Okay, that's great. But again, go down the league and see how many teams have 34-year-old receivers. Right?
I get it. I get it. I'm just saying the thing. I'm just speaking on what he was talking about yesterday, because he had a lengthy little press conference. His thing went about 14 minutes yesterday.
Well, I'll look it up and get the speed, because
and he was talking.
It'll bring you down memory lane.
And he was like, another thing. One of the big things he was talking about was just how he wants his son to see him be good on the football field. He said, because obviously his son he didn't have his son when obviously had his great years with the New York Giants. He still.
But how old is his son?
I have no idea, but I know he didn't have him when he was with the Giants the first time around.
Well, realistically, Odell, I'm not here to have you have a nostalgia for your son. No offense. I love my sons, but if I have a chance, great. But the Giants are trying to win now, right? What can you do to win? Now, Carl Banks said this best, and I don't always like Carl Banks, but he said something about back in the day about Odell that reigns true today. If whatever your antics are, however you get to your dancing and scoring, as long as you're scoring and doing your thing, I don't care, as long as we're winning and we're both aligned. It's when the distraction, takes away from the team or becomes bigger than the team, that's when we have a problem. So for me, I love that he wants to, play for his son and do all that good stuff, and I wish him all the best. But I'm looking at really football realistically. Nobody really likes 34-year-old receivers. They're paying them the vet minimum for a reason. Odell Beckham Jr. is not Jerry Rice. He's not still producing at 33 years old, where you're like, oh my God, this guy's, incredible, right? He's still good, and he's on a team that's got 4 other guys in front of him that deserve playing time from their previous years, like the previous seasons. Even Darnell Mooney, who had a down year, you could say that was a quarterback's problem, but when he had Kirk Cousins starting fully, he had almost 1,000 yards, and he had a 1,000-yard season once in Chicago, right? So, you got, and you paid him $10 million, and you got Calvin Austin. I keep saying this to people that it's fun and nice to hear all that. Oh, well, I can run 21 miles. Great. But let's realistically look at this, right? Money talks, bullshit walks, all right? They gave you the vet minimum. They gave you the vet minimum to make the team that if they cut you, there's no harm, no foul. And if you make the team, it's low risk, high reward for them. and no risk if you don't do it, right? Plus, you got three other guys you're competing with. So let's just see how it plays out in training camp before we start to like. I'm not trying to poo-poo people's things, but the Giants didn't bring in Odell Beckham Jr. as one of their main weapons. They brought him in because give him a tryout. They need depth, but they have 13 fucking guys. 13 guys. Like, that's insane.
Well, look, yeah, just one last thing, because you brought up Carl Banks, and I listened to him and Bob Papa talk about this move also, and they did bring up one other just great point on their podcast on Believe or whatever it's called. But like you said, Odell. One thing about Odell Beckham too. One thing about him is who in this New York Giant receiver room is going to outwork him on this practice field as well. Something to like really think about. Who's going to actually literally outwork him? Like they feel like, and I mean that's kind of a good point as well. Odell Beckham. One thing we do know is he's going to put the work in. Like you said, the talent, he might not have it anymore. The talent might not be what it once was, but he will definitely put the work in. And I think that's also a good point. And it gets down to the depth in this receiver room when, like you said, okay, let's hypothetically say, because right now we don't know about any trade potential of Darius Slayton. I think you pencil him in at number 5 as well. And like you said, keep 6 receivers. So you got the other, 6 or 7 guys, however many other guys it is, they're all fighting for one spot, basically, essentially. One spot. So
it makes the competition good.
Absolutely.
Like, look at Jalen Hyatt. He's got to fight to keep his number, right? That's what he's fighting for right now. He's fighting to keep his number because Odell said he wanted to get 13 back. I don't know if he has enough money in his contract to give him millions of dollars. I don't know what he saved up. I don't do his finances, but he's a guy that nobody's talking about now. I don't know if he's going to do well. I think Jalen Hyatt's a lost cause at this point, but he does have 1 year on his contract, which is this year. So no harm, no foul in keeping him. He's got the same kind of money that Odell Beckham Jr. is making, right? Maybe a little more, a little less because he was a draft pick. So guys like that, they're on the bubble now. You only have, like you said, there's one roster spot. And to me, those last 2 spots, you have to do something, right? So if you want to flip Austin with Slayton and just put them on the depth chart at 4 just so that you can keep Austin as a return man, I understand it because, depth-wise, I think Austin is a better slot receiver and should get more playing time than Darius Slayton. But if you want to mathematically for your numbers to make people look good, put him at 5, then again, there's still one spot. But what I'm saying is that guy, Austin, has versatility is what that 5th receiver means. So that 6th receiver also has to have some type of versatility in my eyes. And that's why I keep landing on Juju Smith-Schuster. Because he's bigger than Odell. I know that he can play special teams, and he's also looking to, work as hard too, right? Like we're talking about, he's going to outwork guys. Good, he's going to bring the level of the last 6 guys on the roster in that receiver room up. So you're going to see all those guys make it. I'm not saying Fields is not going to work out. What I'm saying is you already know the 4 or 5 locks on the team that are going into the receiving room right now. So we're essentially talking about one position, maybe 2, depending on what Slayton's situation ends up being. So that's going to leave the other, 7 guys that are there to go up against Odell Beckham Jr. And there are a couple guys that have been around the block as well, right? Barrios is not he's no slouch. And I think Schuster, Beckham, and Barrios are all on the same level. They're experienced veterans at this point. You can't really base their accolades on what they're doing. You're just like an experienced body who's been in the NFL. It's kind of like your 12th man on the bench in the NBA, right? It's sometimes some old veteran that you see remember like the Malik Roses of the world where, you just got him there because he helps play defense. He doesn't really do much anymore. That's what this is going to be. It's going to be an old veteran presence that, if called upon, can make plays. But if not, he's going to be there. So then it becomes, can I keep, like if Juju's was shoot, let's play, let's do this, right? If Dylan Cambridge or Bo Collins play exceptional this camp, and you have Odell Beckham Jr. and they've played up to the level of Odell, let's say they've done basically the same shit, kind of had a good training camp each. Who am I then going to think about? A guy that I already have on my roster that's younger, or am I going to keep Odell Beckham Jr. because I want some nostalgia purposes to sell some jerseys? It really comes down to that. That's what I want to see. How he performs, where they're going to align this depth chart, because that's where you're going to see this receiver. How many fifth receivers are there? You again, if you look at what the Giant personnel is going to be, the fifth or sixth receiver may never even see the field in terms of formation. That's why the only way I believe is you keep a sixth receiver is if they play special teams. That's why you get a guy like Schuster and Bo Collins and that type of thing. That's just my thought process to it. I know it's not sexy. I know you people think I hate Odell Beckham Jr. I'm looking at it as a practical football move. That's where my mind is at.
Like I said, I'm with you, man. Like I said, I would love to see it work out. I'm just not betting money on it. I just don't. I can't right now. Just based off of what I know, I wouldn't be willing to bet money on it. That's it. I mean, but it will be a great story, like Bookend said here. It will be an awesome story. But look, I just don't. I can't right now see it. To be honest, it's just Adam. Everything you said is right on the point, man. Like you said, all the young talent we have, and if they're just even remotely in the ballpark or equal, they're going to have the advantage. They're going to have the edge. I mean, that's just reality. You're not going to go with the older guy that's only just as good as the young. That's only as good as the younger guys you got that can give you longevity. That can potentially give you longevity and be a long-term solution. Odell Beckham, no matter what, I don't imagine him being a New York Giant beyond this season, regardless of what he does this year. If he makes the team, right, and I just don't see it being going any further than this year with the New York Giants, at least. He wants to keep on playing football. He has a little success this year, wants to keep playing football. It's most likely going to be with somebody else next year for sure. So that's just real. But
it's going to be with the New York Jets.
But guys, do appreciate y'all hanging out for the last past hour, kicking it with me and Adam, man, talking a little bit of Knicks, talking about the Giants a little bit, man. Definitely appreciate y'all tuning into another edition of the Premium Takes Podcast. Throw them fours up for our guy, NYG Jeffy T. We'll see y'all next week. Maybe Zion be back with us, man. It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. And that's Adam Casas. It don't cost a thing to hit that like button. Just do it. Do it. Do it.